Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sal Licata Show podcast, available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Download, rate, subscribe, like, comment, whatever it is that you do, we appreciate it greatly.
Now on to another one of my favorite moments, Sal, from your time on the fan here. Again, jumping around. We'll go back to the beginning after this. May 13th, 2022, a young spry Badabooms calls into WFAN driving home from this lovely lady's house at around 2:55 in the morning. The young fan, if you will, Badabooms, attempts to call, and I know this is long-winded, but please, maybe I'll splice the clip in here. And he accidentally calls an adult phone hotline because he gets the phone number off by one digit. And then he, says that to you, Sal Licata. Can you take me back on that great moment, which the audience has now just heard?
But okay, so you just replayed it, so now the audience has heard that.
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember it.
What do you mean? You told me that you remember it.
Oh, I need to hear it again. Do you have it?
Sal, what's going on, baby?
How are you?
What's up? I'm doing good. So, actually, I wanted to call about the Yankees, but on a lesser serious note, are you guys aware over there how close to the call-in number is to the erotic phone line?
No, I am not aware of that.
So, I was actually going to call into the show, and I accidentally put 377 instead of 337, and I was surprised to hear something differently, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Is it the same number? Is it the same number other than that?
Yeah, it's 100% the same. It's 877-377, and then the rest is the same.
You know what's weird? I have given that number out by mistake, like by accident. Really? Well, because it's easy to, sometimes get it messed up. Now I've done it so much that I would hope I don't screw it up. But yeah, sometimes you misspeak, and the number's 877-337. Sometimes you could just say 877-377. I did not know, though, that there was, how was it?
I didn't participate. I was taken by surprise. I was trying to call in and talk about a different kind of bats and balls. But get into the question now. So I heard you guys talking about trade candidates, and when I look at the Yankees team,
the rest is just me talking about the Yankees getting Salvi Perez.
I have some recollection of that. Now, the one thing I take away from that is, A, you were funny. B, I sounded very tired. Also, C, I missed the intimacy of that, doing a show on the overnight and just me and the callers. That is something that I definitely miss from the fan. But I do remember that because it was just nobody ever called with that. That's a true story, or were you lying at the point?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Say that again.
Were you lying at that point, or was that
no? You asked if it was. You asked if it was
a true story.
True story.
Will you stop with the drops? We don't.
The drops are going to evolve. The drops are going to evolve. When you say something, you don't want them.
No drops.
All right, guys, we're going to put a poll down below. It's going to pop up right
no
here.
No poll. No drops. That's not how we do it. And definitely not anything that the fan would do. Like, come on, Badabooms.
What do you mean that the fan would do?
Those are drops from the fan. This is not a show on the fan.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, my bad. Completely forgot about that. That is
drops. I hate the drops.
That was a true story. What, you think I called in live? No, I wanted to talk about the Yankees getting Salvi Perez at the deadline.
So that actually happened.
Yeah, and it threw off my call to ask about Salvi Perez. Thank you, by the way, for letting me have that. Like, I gave a whole 3-minute long-winded thing. You didn't hang up on me, and you still let me ask about Salvi Perez.
Yeah, it's the overnight. Anything goes on the overnight. If you listen back to my shows on the overnight versus the midday, it's totally different. It's just a different ball game. On the overnight, you get 5 hours to play with. You're by yourself. The commercials there are fewer commercials, and there are fewer callers. So there's just more wiggle room to have a longer conversation, which is what made the overnight in part special. So I think it was a good call. Obviously, I didn't know that when you were getting, trying to apply for this job here, sliding in the DMs, but I think it's funny that you played it back. And yes, I did. A lot of people are like, oh, do you remember this? I called you one time. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I do remember that just because it was something I never heard before about that number getting mixed up.
Was that Zoo on the board? Because I heard it's raspy.
I have no idea.
No. Shout out Zoo, by the way. So let's stay on the overnights here. Was there any specific caller that was your favorite, or a call that is so memorable that you'll never forget it from the overnights?
No, there's not one specific call that. The only one that comes to mind is the one that made me lose my stuff when I threw my headphones off and was like, I'll quit or whatever. Maybe that was a different call. It might have been two of them. But no, there's not a specific call that sticks out. But I did make a lot of friends with a lot of the callers from the overnight show. Hector in Washington Heights, Eric in Ronkonkoma, Doug in where the hell? Doug in Babylon or Bayshore? I forget where the hell he's from, but I haven't talked to him in a while actually. Doug on Long Island, he used to call from, and I forget where he actually lives. So Doug on Long Island, Hector, we hung out. We used to go out to some games, not all the time, but go out to either watch or we went to watch Rangers playoff game against the Penguins at Stout in New York City. Went out for a drink afterward. So Hector, I've hung out with many times at games. Doug, I remember hanging out.
I saw him doing his thing.
Yeah, he's the best. Eric, trying to think of who else. Randy in Queens. Forgive me, Mitch in Fort Lee became friends. Like, these people are legitimate. Like, I'll text them on occasion. I'm sure there's more too, but those are the ones that primarily I kept friendship with. I told you it was an intimate setting. The same callers would call. You continue the storylines that you had from the night before, the week before, and see how they play out throughout the course of a year.
Remember the dude who used to get you in the last hour where he just disagree with everything you said?
Yeah. Ralph, was it Ralph on Long Island?
I don't know.
Why am I forgetting now? Sure. No, what the hell is
everything you would say though? He had something to combat it. I would love that.
I liked him. What the hell was his name? Rob? God, I don't know why I can't remember his name. But yes, I liked him. People used to think Gio's like, oh, you hate this guy? No, I thought he was a good caller. Dude, my memory is mush. Maybe it's just I kind of like blocked everything that happened in the last 3-4 years out for the most part. But I forget what the hell his name was. But yes, we used to, big Giant fan, always fight about the Giants and Daniel Jones and all that stuff. I want to say Ralph, though. I thought Ralph, but.
Elite ball placement, Daniel Jones. Are you familiar with that video?
No.
The dude who used to like do the film review and he'd be like, Daniel Jones, elite ball placement. No. And it's like the most easy check down passes. Besides, move on from that. Let's go back to the start of you being on the fan there. And do you remember your first day walking?
Brett on Long Island.
Yes.
Brett on Long Island.
Because he used to do the same thing to C-Mac.
I don't know where I was getting Ralph from, but yeah, Brett on Long Island. And good dude, actually. Nice guy. So I love the calls. He used to fire me up.
Yeah, he used to do the same thing to C-Mac. Do you remember your first day walking into the old building? I forgot where it was. You definitely know better than I do.
In Astoria?
In Astoria, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I had an internship at Crossing Over with John Edward.
Just answer the question, by the way. I'll transition this because I know.
Okay. Yes, but it wasn't when I first started working there, was my point. So I worked in that building at Crossing Over with John Edward, which is he was like a psychic, could talk to dead people. Where is he now that everybody in my life has died? I'd like to actually have him handy. Anyway, so I worked behind the scenes on that show, but it was in the same building as the fan. One time that show got mail that was from WFAN, and the people there knew how much I loved it. And they're like, you want to bring this downstairs? And I was like, yes, I do. Went downstairs, went to the lobby, buzzed the door. I couldn't believe I was seeing WFAN studios. Good God. Now, obviously, I didn't go in. Like, I went just to drop the mail off, and that was it. But I'll never forget. That was the first time before I ever set foot in there as an intern or even for the interview as an intern.
So talk about the interview as an intern. Who did you interview with? What was that like?
Got a call from... Okay, well, before that, I met Bob Husler at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. It's one of the reasons why I went there, because I knew he was a teacher, and I knew that was my in. I needed to get in touch with anybody associated with WFAN. When I went to the school, they were like, oh, Bob Husler's a teacher here. You'll get to meet with him. I was like, sold. I don't care what the thing is, whatever, sold. Met him. He got me an opportunity to interview to the internship. I get a call on my house, my phone line. My mom's like, Sal, it's Eddie Scazzeri. I'm like, Eddie Scazzeri? Yeah, the Eddie Scazzeri. And talked to him. And at that moment, I knew that everything was going to change, because he's like, hey, we want you to come in for an internship and blah, 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 to interview. And then I remember going in there, and he was like, okay, well, a couple of rules. Can't wear jerseys, and don't make eye contact with Imus. And that was... I remember that well, sitting in the back interviewing with him, got the internship and worked my way up.
Why don't make I can kind of use context clues. Why don't make eye contact with him?
I think because you just never know with Imus. If you make eye contact with him, probably no good is going to happen. He used to walk around with a gun in his holster. I'll put a bullet in you. He said this to one of my good friends, Eddie Erickson. Years later, he told me, "I'll put a bullet in you." He was not a. I had one interaction with him, and I almost like shat myself. I was on the board working for Jody and Sid. Jody Mack and Sid McDonald, midday. What did I just say? Jody Mack and Sid McDonald. Obviously, Jody Mack and Sid Rosenberg. What the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Jody Mack, Sid Rosenberg on the midday show. And I'm on the board and I'm like brand new. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know which buttons or whatever. And here comes Imus in the control room. How do I talk to Sid? How do I talk to Sid? And I was like, he wanted to know which button. How do I talk to Sid? And he figured it out on his own, and that was it. That was my only interaction ever with how do I talk to Sid? You familiar with Imus at all or no?
A little bit, but I know he didn't do sports, right?
No sports. But he's like a legendary. I mean, he built the fan, really. Him and Mike and the Mad Dog, but even him before that. Anyway, so Imus was like a person you would not want to mess with. The vibe in the newsroom during the Imus in the Morning show or when he was walking around was not a good one. Everybody was tense. They didn't want to make eye contact. Don't want to talk to him. What type of mood he's in. Everybody kissing his ass. So when he left, everything got better.
Who had out of all of the big names, big shows that have gone through, huge celebrities, huge athletes, who do you think was the most ass-kissed show host? Maybe they're even still there today.
You're talking about show hosts on the fan.
Like everybody genuflected when they walked through the room. Like I used to go to Bible on Tuesday nights to get my communion, and the priest would come in and we'd all stand up. Like Father, I'm not going to say his name. Father is here. Stand up.
It's hard because Imus everybody was afraid of, and that was going on then. It happened with Mike all the time, multiple spots. In Astoria, when we moved, Mike and Mad Dog, Mike by himself. I think Boomer gets a lot of that. I don't remember seeing it with Craig. I'm sure it happened, but I wasn't around that. But any of those top guys, I saw it firsthand with Mike more than anybody else, but that's because I worked with him. But I know for a fact it was, I would say Imus, Mike, Boomer, in that order.
And who is the biggest doing the kissing of the ass?
Chernoff 1,000%, and all the salespeople. Well, that's just how he was. I mean, he's not a bad guy, and I like Mark, and he gave me an opportunity to come back there.
Oh.
They were just always afraid of him. I couldn't believe how they would let the talent just run roughshod over them.
I was going to say, didn't he make the rules? Like, why would he?
There would be sometimes dragged down, like just yelling. And I was always Team Mike because that's my guy. And it was also bucking authority. So I loved that Mike just, when we got hired on the show, to work behind the scenes with Mike, it was, all right, you're safe now. You're under my umbrella. You're fine. Like the bosses couldn't touch you because you're under Mike's umbrella. The problem with that is that the bosses didn't like you because they couldn't do anything to you because you were under. Dude, here's one story that will sum this shit up. And I think I told this before. Mike and Dog were in the midst of the breakup. Dog was leaving, but no, it was not official yet. And Mike was yelling at Chernoff behind the scenes about something. And I'm running the board at this point on Mike's show. Mike and the Mad Dog show, but Dog's off this day. And Mike's going, and if you don't, I want to know now, Cherney. I want to know now. That was like not abnormal to have him yell at Mark like that. But this was a big deal because it was about the Mike and Chris stuff. And Mike's walking past the control room door, which is open, which I'm in running the board, playing the commercials. He's going into the studio, yelling at Chernoff, saying, I need to know now. I'm going to go on the air, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember. He goes in. I'm about to come back from commercial break, and Chernoff comes in and goes, If Mike starts talking about Dog and says anything about it, you are to cut to commercial. You shut his mic off and cut to commercial. And if you tell him that I told you that, you're fired. So now imagine me as a young board op on the Mike and the Mad Dog show whose loyalty is clearly with Mike. A, I loved him before I ever set foot in there. B, like I'm on his show, working on his show. But my boss is telling me to shut Mike Francesa's mic off. Shut his mic off if he starts talking about Mike and the Mad Dog. Imagine that. Shut his mic off and go to commercial and don't tell him that I told you, because if you do, you're fired. I mean, are you serious, dude? Now, luckily, Mike never talked about it, so I wasn't put in that spot, but you think I'm going to shut Francesa's mic off? And you think if I do, I'm going to tell him that it was my idea? Like, come on, man. So that was one maybe Mark wishes he had back, but that is a true story that happened during the height of the behind-the-scenes breakup with Mike and the dog.
So sorry. I'll just say it instead of play the drop.
Yeah.
Do you have a dog? Do you have a dog?
No, I mean, yeah, I do, but I'm not doing it. You got to retire your impressions.
I never will. I never will.
No, you can't do the fans. You got to let it go.
Oh, because it's fan related.
It's just Gio dominated that market, bro. Give it up.
If it's fan related, if that's why, I will retire the fan impressions. You were talking about Mike and dog and all that. You mentioned you were a Mike guy, right? And I think this is known by people who are really into the lore of the fan. Who was the biggest Mike guy and who was the biggest Chris guy? Not ass kisser, but who are their favorites?
So who you want me to tell you who Mike's favorite is and who Chris's favorite is?
Well, because there's the Mike guys and there's the dog guys.
I know,
obviously.
but I can't tell you. I can't tell you who their favorite is. That's a question.
What was public perception? What was public perception?
I could give you the list of who guys who I thought were Mike guys or guys who I thought were Chris guys.
Actually, say it again. Say here's the list so I can make this a clip. This is going to do numbers.
No, I don't want to make this a clip.
It's gonna be.
There were, from my time there, I'm trying to think of, like, Moose comes to mind as a dog guy. Chris Carlin, I felt like was kind of both, honestly. I thought he did a good job of balancing both. And usually the Mike and dog, like when you say, oh, he's a Mike guy, he's a dog guy, that was, I thought, for the people that worked on their show. Like Scazzeri was both, he loved them both, but they worked with Mike on the Sunday show, so maybe lean more Mike. I loved both those guys, loved them both, and they were both good to me. The reason why I would definitively say more Mike is because the relationship post Mike and the Mad Dog, like I barely talked to Dog. I could text him if I want, and I loved him. I once babysat his kids. He paid me to babysit his kids in an amusement park. He didn't want to go on the ride, so I was going on rides with him all day long.
You?
In Connecticut. He paid me to drive up from Long Island to Connecticut, spend the day. Dog,
Lake Compounds?
Me. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly it. Lake Compounds. Never been before, haven't been since.
You went on the Boulder Dash?
This was 2007. I don't remember. But little Timmy or Colin, I don't even know. Now,
Timmy? Sorry.
Yeah, now they're Timmy's coaching basketball, Colin's doing radio shows. But yeah, Uncle Sal took them on some rides at Lake Compound. Daughter Kira was there as well, but she was way too young, I think. So anyway, Dog had the 3 kids and he needed help. So he paid me, his then board op, to go up there and babysit with the kids for a day. It was great.
Were you a cool uncle? Fun uncle? You let him drink soda?
Dude, I wish I remember more about that day. I don't remember everything about it. I was probably just excited about the paycheck and excited to be hanging out with one of my idols. I mean, you go from working at Home Depot, listening to the fan and calling the fan saying, I can't wait to be a part of that. I will do anything to be a part of that. To sitting in Chris Russo's car, driving to Lake Compound with his 3 kids, getting ready to go on rides with the kids. Like you can't even fathom that. Or the relationship that I've had with Mike, going on private planes to the Super Bowl and back with Dog, going nuts flying. He was not a good flyer, smashing his wedding ring against the side table. going to Port St. Lucie on Mike's private plane. Like the experience that I had with these guys, sometimes I say it just to like reiterate, I still can't even believe that it happened because I was the biggest Mike and the Mad Dog fan. And then I became a part of the fan and their show, which was just freaking wild. But yeah, there's not like a clear, this was a Mike guy, this was a Dog guy. Most people love them both. Sometimes to do yourself favors, you had to kind of side with one versus the other. But I would not say that there was like a clear line of a list of names that I'm going to give you, Badabooms, that you'd be like, oh, wow, that's great. This guy's a Mike guy or that guy's a Dog guy. There wasn't. I couldn't. If there was, I was not in tune to tell you all that.
So
Moose, Carlin, myself, like Eddie Erickson was.
What about G?
More Mike? Huh?
Gio.
Oh, Gio was a Dog guy. But again, Gio didn't work on the show. Gio was definitely a Dog guy. He worked on Saturday morning show producing for Dog. And even if it were just in the newsroom before, I'm pretty sure it was more dog. I think Gio would say he's a dog guy, but I'm thinking the people who actually worked on the show.
What I always really found fascinating about the Fan is kind of how they have like draft classes almost, where it's like, and you'll see what I'm saying in a second here. It's like you talk about the Geo, McMonagle's part of it. McMonagle's draft class is more of like the Lugauer, Marash, Damon Amendola draft class, where yours is like Eddie Erickson,
Moose,
Geo, Moose.
Colin. Yeah, I guess those guys are a little bit before. Yeah, the guys that you mentioned first came after.
Yes.
Like I was an intern in 2003. I think Geo was shortly after that. Moose was before us, but still like similar time frame. Carlin was before that, but still similar time frame. Yeah, I mean, there's different generations or different time frame. Marash, I don't remember Marash as an intern at the Fan. He might have come there. I know he was doing the network stuff with DA. I don't remember DA. Hey, me, Sal here. Weird interrupting my own podcast, but I'm going to do it because it's a very special reason. We have Mets-Yankees Subway Series tickets to give away, courtesy of Sachdev Family Orthodontics in Rockland. Right now, we have 2 tickets, 1 pair of tickets, Mets-Yanks field-level tickets. It's the first Subway Series matchup of 2026 out at Citi Field. We'll be giving them away once we get to 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We're at about 6 right now as we record this. So we're getting there. Ways to go. Games in May. If we don't get there, I guess just Badabooms and I will go. But anyway, a pair of tickets, Mets-Yankees Subway Series, Friday night, Citi Field, first game of the year between the Mets and the Yankees for 2026. We have a pair to give away once we get to the 10,000 subscribers. Okay, now you can go back to listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to check us out. I remember DA doing some fill-in shows on the Fan before I left the first time. Before I got fired the first time.
We're going to get that. Don't worry. Don't blow the load.
How long is this thing going to go here? Anyway, yeah, Lugie I remember a little bit as an intern and a younger up-and-comer. McMonagle I definitely remember. McMonagle, in part, got in because of a trip that Moose, me, and Brian Monzo took to Vegas.
Monzo. I forgot about Monzo, too.
Yeah, me, Monzo, Moose went to Vegas. I don't know if that was the trip that Gio was on or not. Once we went, me, Moose, Monzo, and Gio. But another time it might have been me, Moose, and Monzo. I forget if Gio was there on the McMonagle trip. Anyway, we ran into Chris McMonagle at Pure Nightclub or something like that. He was a big fan. He recognized Moose, and he was there with his friends, and somehow that turned into an internship, and somehow that turned into Afternoon Drive with Carton.
Yeah, who did they replace?
No, I love C-Mac. Him and I have had great moments over the years together as friends, like not just on the air stuff. Matter of fact, most of it off the air because he was behind the scenes and I wasn't there for a while after that. He took over as board op on Mike's show, so he would be a Mike guy. I don't even know if he worked with Dog, but anyway.
Let's talk about when, because I always wondered this, and I got to ask you IRL, so I think, maybe people who may be interested want to hear this as well. When you got canned the first time from the Fan, tell me a little bit more about that. What led to it? How did it happen? So
it was more of a behind-the-scenes thing and really a miscommunication more than anything else. And I explained this many times, let's see, it was, 16 years ago now, in 2010, where I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. There was some other show that was going on, this Buffalo Wild Wings show that had nothing to do with the Fan. They wanted me to be a part of that show. And we're trying to bring in Connecticut School of Broadcasting to be a sponsor. And that was one part of it. Then another part was that Beningo used to get paid to read the commercials for Connecticut School of Broadcasting, right? I've since learned how that stuff works. Back then, I had no idea. But I was reaching out to them saying, hey, I went to the school. I'm on Francesca's show. I'd love to be able to endorse the spot. And they were not responding to the email. And then I guess one email that I sent was, they took it as a threat. But it was not a threat because usually to threaten, you actually have to have some kind of power. I never had any power. I was on Francesca's show, but I was barely on the air. And I guess they took it as, if you don't sponsor me, I will then rip you on the air, which was not ever going to be the case. And I remember one of the times, like the head of the company, Dick Robinson, called the control room and he spoke to me and I was like, and he was like, if you want to do this or that, then blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, no, 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 no issues. No, I was just saying that I was trying to explain to him, but he didn't want to hear it. And then I guess he didn't stop with calling me and saying that. He was so mad that he went to the higher ups and they didn't even know who the hell I was. Like, I was just a board op on Francesca's show. But when you start talking about threatening a sponsor or any issue with a sponsor, I don't know how much money Connecticut School of Broadcasting was spending on the fan at the time, but probably a significant amount. They weren't going to worry about me. They were just going to say, no, keep the sponsor happy. We'll just fire him. So that's basically what happened. Even though Mike tried to save my job, it's really a nothing story. It was behind the scenes, me, who had no money at the time, trying to get an opportunity to make money by endorsing them, in addition to the Buffalo Wild Wings thing, which had nothing to do with the fan. But that's basically what happened. And the head of it got wind of that email and didn't like it, and that was that. And when I tell you the email, I swear it was not threatening. It may have had a tone that wasn't like a, hey, pleasant tone. I was like frustrated, like, hey, I keep reaching out to you guys, like, let me know. But what would I have done? I didn't even have any airtime to threaten. So there was not a threat. I went back to the fan like 3 years later. Chernoff took me back. So obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. When I did go back, it was specifically on air. I got hired from SNY 2 weeks after that went down. They asked about the story, what happened. I explained it to them. It was really just a more of an unfortunate miscommunication than anything else, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I would not change anything about it because I would not have evolved into the person that I was if not for getting fired like that.
So when you get hired back there, what's your thought process, and what was that like when you get the call that, like, so how did it come about that you got hired back?
I was at SNY, and then I was doing shows from my apartment remotely in Florida. I was hosting like a Yankee pregame show in Florida. Sid Rosenberg hooked me up with that. And I did a show or two on QAM. I forget even the stations, but I was doing a show in Florida. And over those years, obviously I hated having that black cloud over me. I couldn't live with it. It was the worst part about being fired. I felt like I did something wrong. I felt less than, even though I built myself up and was very happy with my career and on SNY and all that stuff. I always felt ashamed of that whole incident. And I reached out to Chernoff saying, hey, Mark, it's been a couple of years. Here's where I'm at mentally. Here's where my career-wise. I'd love an opportunity to come back if you guys will have me. And he was open to it and receptive to it. And I guess he ran it up the ranks, and that was fine. And he said, we always liked your ability or whatever. And that was that. I went back part-time for a little bit. And then I actually left on my own for a better opportunity at WOR when they took the Mets. They had the Mets games. So I went there and did shows on off days around the Mets games, whereas I had more guaranteed opportunity 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., whereas the fan, it was, we'll get you in whenever we can. Some overnights here, some overnights there, but back then there wasn't many shows. So I actually left on my own. And then when the OR left the Mets, I went back to Chernoff again in 2018 and said the same thing. Hey, I'd love to come back for an opportunity. And then I came back, and then that led to eventually the full-time overnights, eventually full-time middays.
All right, so just a few more, and I'll let you run here, Sal.
Remember, we got plenty of time to do these story times with Sal.
I know. I don't want to. That's exactly why I don't want to kind of unload the whole gun here. I'm even debating on saving the more recent stuff for down the line, or maybe when you have somebody as a guest. Wink, wink. Offshoot question, but I was just realizing this as you were speaking there. I noticed, not to say I followed your career intensely, because I really haven't. And I'm just going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Getting my receipts back. How did you get your voice to evolve where, like, you went from kind of like me, squeaker, just like a little squeaky boy, to like now you have like that WFAN, like, you know what I mean?
It's a great question, man. I got to play you one day I guess you could see some of it on YouTube, but I got tapes. You know what a VHS is? What is it?
Of course. It's the tape that you put in the dude. Come on. I'm not that.
Okay.
I used to have a Walkman when I was little, and I'd go to sleep and listen to the Creed CDs. You familiar with Creed?
Yes. I have VHS tapes and some DVDs that I burnt from old segments that I did with Mike and Chris. And I look at myself and I'm like, my God, like, first of all, it's over 20 years ago. But yeah, I had more of an accent. I don't know. It's just something I think that you just clean up over time by being around other broadcasters, by being around other people who don't speak with that type of accent that maybe I had when I was just younger from my parents, my upbringing, from Home Depot, from the people that was around.
You're from Long Island or Staten Island?
Long Island.
Okay.
It's still in there sometimes, but I honestly don't have an answer for you. I don't know. I think it just evolved naturally over time, learning how to enunciate and say things clearly. I wish I had a better answer for you on that one, but there definitely is a difference from the way that I used to talk on the air to the way that it's evolved 20 something years later.
Yeah, like like you seem like a professional. Like, some things may say not that, but I think you're a professional, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It'll
Tell
happen for
me-
you one day. Give it 20 years.
20 years. I don't know if I'll have that much time, but you were talking about your time with Mike and Chris before. Give me inside baseball of when they broke up. I'm very fascinated by all that.
I mean, I can't, dude. You got to ask a little more specific question than that. I could give you my perspective on it.
Your perspective. What was it like for you as a fan? And you were with them when they broke up, correct?
It was both uncomfortable and heartbreaking because I had just gotten the opportunity to be on that show not too long before that. I forget the exact timeline, but I'm pretty sure I was on the show 2007. Now, for me, forget about being on the air. For the guy that I told you about, the kid that wanted to be a part of that family, to be on the Mike and the Mad Dog show. Like, I wanted to be a part of the WFAN family, but I wanted specifically to be a part of the Mike and the Mad Dog show. Even saying it to you, I'm reminding myself that I actually was. Like, I don't care how many times I got fired. I'm a part of WFAN history, and I'm a part of that show's history. And I was the last board op working with Mike and the Mad Dog. It was the time of my life watching my two idols and heroes get to do a show like that show that I watched on Yes for so many years or listened to before that on the Fan. I had a front row seat for that every day. God, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But the breakup was heartbreaking because they were breaking up, and it was difficult because there was issues between the two of them. And ultimately, it turned into a good thing for me because then instead of being Mike and the Mad Dog, it was even more close-knit. Mike, me, and Eddie Erickson, and that's it. It was the three of us after that. It was the world kind of against us, and that's the way that Mike wanted it. He was painting it like that. All right, it's everybody against us. They're all going to be coming for us now, thinking that I'm vulnerable, blah, 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 blah. And he still dominated, and it was great to be a part of that. Like I said, to do the on-air stuff. The actual breakup, like, I remember playing golf one day. It was me, Mike, and Eddie Erickson, and Mike was talking about the possibility of it happening. I remember asking Dog, like, is this really going to happen? He's like, think about it, Sal. You know me. I like a challenge. As he was eating his Wheat Thins from the back vending machine. He used to love the Wheat Thins. And, instead of
Dog saying Wheat Thins, please for me.
Mike would be, how about those Wheat Thins? Mike would peel off hundreds and give to us to get food. Dog would be like, anybody have any change for the vending machine? He still probably owes me a couple bucks for that, although I lost a lot of bets with him. That's the other thing. We used to bet. Dog would have you bet money that we didn't have. I'm like, I'll do $50 on this game. Family play. There was a time where we're watching, me, Dog, and Eddie are all in each other's ears during a show, watching a game because we bet a side of it. Mike recognized that and it's like, what are you guys doing? You're not paying attention. We were all three of us, Dog included, got in trouble because during the show we were watching a game and focused on our bets. There are so many stories, but the breakup was, I was asking Dog, are you really going to leave? And he's like, I like a challenge. And he was just ready to move on and do his own thing. And I didn't know it at the time, but years later, I can understand that and respect that. Doing the same thing with the same partner every day, 5 days a week, wanting to have your own identity and go see if you can do it on your own. So I respect his decision. I'm very proud of what Mike did afterward and was happy to be a part of that. And there was a lot more that goes into it. Yeah, I told you the Chernoff story. That's probably as good as it gets as far as the direct breakup with those two guys. But I knew what was going on. People have written about it afterward. They have no idea. They're not even right or accurate about a lot of the stuff that went on there. There was only very few people who knew exactly what was going on. Mike, Dog, Eddie Erickson, me because of Eddie, and probably Chernoff. And that's it. Outside of that, I don't know how many people actually knew what was going on day by day.
I like your little wink, wink, nod there. You know what I mean? I pick up what you're putting down. So
with what?
Nothing. Wink. That's like
no, but explain it to me. What?
Do I have to?
Yeah.
You said you kind of understand about the breakup, wanting to go your separate ways, and
No, get out of here. No,
not like it was a choice.
Yeah,
for
well, this is no. I understand what you're saying. Different. Now, I did tell BT because we're talking about doing some stuff together or whatever, and we are going to work on that. I just don't know how it's going to work exactly. But yes, I told him
who's going to
that.
produce that?
No idea. I don't even know what's going to happen. We're still talking. We're friends and all that stuff. But I did tell BT where like I felt like I lost a little bit of my independence on that show. And instead of it being about me, it was about BT and Sal, especially because of the way that it went up in flames and all the attention that it got. It was always, even now when I go out somewhere, it's not about me. It's about, I mean, people do care, like, oh, what are you doing? You know, you feel bad, whatever. But it's, oh, I miss you and BT. I miss you and BT. It's about BT and Sal. Oh, some of the comments, why don't you two do this together? So we appreciate that. But I also think that a part of me feels like I lost my independence, which I would like to get back. So while also still doing some stuff with him. And I told him this, I've told everybody this, if there's a demand for BT and Sal, then we will supply it. It's as simple as that. So we don't have a bad relationship. That I was not alluding to what happened with Mike and Chris. Dude, they were partners for like 20 years. So if I feel like in 2 years, how challenging it can be to work with somebody else every day, especially when you're used to doing it on your own, I can imagine what that's like doing it for 20 years with somebody, especially somebody as dominant as Mike. That there had to be challenges there. Now I can relate because I've actually had a partner for 2 years. There's a give and take. There are challenges there. So I could understand his perspective more. That's all that I was trying to say. Don't be a dick trying to drum up some controversy.
Richard. No, my name's Badabooms, Sal, not Richard. I don't know if I want to save this for potential BT and Sal. Maybe I'll ask about it. I guess we'll do this one thing. We'll save a lot of the other stuff for when you guys are together and I can ask that question. What is your favorite moment from working with BT? Your favorite moment, not you two together or something you guys like back and forth about. Your favorite moment.
Well, what do you mean not you two together? You're saying not our favorite moment, my favorite.
Yes, correct. Not something you guys have to agree on. Maybe it's something that maybe you sunned him on a point and you were right about something and you got to rub it in his face.
Okay, I'm going to give you two answers. One, and this is the truth. This is why I'm giving you this answer. I've said this before, but I'm just going to say it again. My favorite part of the entire 2.5 years of doing the show together was the last 2 weeks of the show. I'm extremely proud of those 2 weeks combined. Very proud. I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it. Wasn't sure how he was going to handle it. Wasn't sure how we were going to handle it together. It was the most difficult of circumstances. It's unique to be in that situation. We will forever be bonded by that situation because we both went through the same exact thing together. So that is the thing that I'm most proud of. Aside from that, probably my favorite moment had to be when the Mets got Soto. You know, we talked about that for a year. So much back and forth. Him, Yankees, me, Mets. Soto being the prize piece. The fact that they got Soto, the unveiling of the King Cohen stuff and playing that music. I would say that that's probably my favorite moment between the two of us. There were some good ones, even early on, putting a paper bag over my head. I remember us dressing up as Doink and Goldust. We had some pretty good moments, some pretty memorable moments, but I would say my favorite was when the Mets triumphed and got Soto and we get to do the King Cohen stuff.
If you're Doink, does that make me Dink?
Yeah, but much, much, much larger. You're like Dink and Dunk.
Whatever, bro. Whatever. I can't wait to tune in. No, I'm not going to say that.
You can cut that out. You can get
I'm not.
All right. That's
Great.
it. We're good for now.
I think that kind of brings everything to a point there. Before you had to make that ridiculous out of line joke from a superior to if it was a real workplace, you would be scolded for that, but it's not. You know, with the whole Soto thing, Sal, like there's another team in New York who had got the princess, if you will, like in Mario. And when they got the princess, they fell flat in their face right into Bowser's pit of lava. So you guys still have to win. You know that, right?
Agreed. But I've said this many times, not just with you, with BT as well. Yeah, I mean, they have to win. They've gotten everything else. They have to win. That's the hardest part. And that's the one thing that's left. They got to do that. Not just win. They have to win consistently and then win big consistently.
I do love you went on a rant one day about sustained success and not just, they get lucky one time and then it's back to the pit of misery. I want to do one of those stupid hypothetical questions with you real quick. Every single, I guess not every single. So for you, it's Rangers, Knicks. Would you say Falcons anymore or not really?
Not on that level, but potentially getting back there with Matt Ryan back in play now.
So here's the hypothetical, Sal. Mets sustained success for the next 10 years, one championship all the way at the end, or all those other teams win a championship within a matter of like 5 years.
One more time, Mets sustained success.
And then it's punctuated with a championship at the end. So it's a lot more heartbreak, a lot more failure.
Or I get Mets, Falcons, and Knicks.
No. Knicks, Rangers, Falcons in a matter of 5 years.
And no Mets.
No Mets guaranteed.
No, I want the Mets.
So you want that 10 years of pitiful heartbreak just for one championship. One.
What do you mean 10 years of pitiful heartbreak?
So from in my eyes as a Yankee fan, right, my whole life has been all this build, you don't win. All this build, you don't win. Like that's the life as a Yankee fan from my era that I've grown up in. That's what essentially you would be experiencing. You just get all of that building up and none of the winning.
No, I thought you said it would end with the championship for the Mets.
Yes, after 10 years, and then they never win again.
I'd still take that.
One title over 3.
Yeah, because it's with the teams that I still care about those teams. The Mets is the one that means the most to me.
What I was really trying to do is just compare it to my life as a Yankee fan. I guess that came off a little bit confusing, but that's what I'm trying to assimilate for you because you want that sustained success, Sal, but it comes at a price.
Are we done here?
Yes.
All right, that does it for part 1 and part 2 of Storytime with Sal. Make sure you download, rate, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate you checking in. See you next week. Fresh new episodes all week. Bye.